Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our town council meeting. For the record, I'd like to note that all members of the council are present here in person except for Mr. Morris, who is Zooming in. And we also have Mr. Gravier, our town manager. We have John Apple, assistant town manager, Molly Daisy, our town clerk, and we have Terry Tiemann here with us too. So would we all stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, before we begin, Mr. Gravier, could you please let the people who may be watching from home or participating from home know how they can submit comments, please?
Certainly. There are two platforms, video, audio, video platforms.
Your mic?
Excuse me, Mr. Apple, Jerry Morris said that he can't hear us, he can see us. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. And for Mr. Morris, if he can hear us, we may have some difficulties with the meeting and his participation, so, all right. There are two...
Did you plan it that way?
At your request, Mayor, yes. So.
Oh, even better.
There are two video platforms where you can view this meeting. One is at the town's website, townofbethanybeach.com. In the government link in the far left column, there is a live broadcast link that you can click and view and listen to the meeting. And you can also view the meeting on our YouTube page. And again, at townofbethanybeach.com, top of the page, click on the YouTube icon. If you have any questions or comments on agenda items or other items in the comment portion of the meeting, you may send those questions or comments to questions@townofbethanybeach.com. That's questions@townofbethanybeach.com. There is a few-minute delay, a few-minute lag between the time you send the question and the time we receive the question, but all questions will be answered. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Gravier. Okay, the first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second, Mr. Shepley. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held on November 19th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any corrections or revisions? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the executive session held on November 19th, 2021, with the addition of the revision that was made earlier today. Do I have a motion for approval? Second? Okay. Any comments, revisions? None? Okay. All
All I
those
can
in
say is, I'm sorry, go on.
all those in favor?
Aye. Good job, Molly. Good minutes.
Thank you. Yeah, good job, Molly. We have the financial report. Do we have Mr. Morris available, or? Okay. Is it just that Mr. Morris is not able, we can't get him, but can the public, are they able? Oh. Oh, but can they hear us? Oh, okay, thank you.
We're having an issue with this specific Zoom.
Okay, I got you, thank you. It's fine, okay. He has the tax adjustment list too, doesn't he?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, why don't we just forego those two for the present time? And for those of you viewing virtually, we're having technical difficulties bringing Mr. Morris into the meeting. So we're deferring his 2 items until later. Okay, the next item on the agenda is going to be announcements and any public comment. And before we start, I have 2 announcements, actually. The first one is that Bethany Beach has been fortunate and blessed in so many ways. We have a beautiful town, residents and business owners who care. We have a dedicated town council and an outstanding town manager and staff. And among his many extraordinary managerial qualities, Mr. Gravier believes in providing opportunities for his staff to grow and develop, even if it means that they reach a point where they are ready to take on new challenges elsewhere. 7.5 years ago, a then very young John Apple became our code enforcement officer. From an early age, he had worked in his father's marine construction business, where he not only learned the business, but he also developed his unique ability to work with and supervise people of all ages. And he's been able to accomplish the same thing in Bethany Beach. Town staff enjoy working with him because he respects and appreciates them. And he has the same ability to work with all people, including town council and residents and businesses. He has such a gift for relating with people that he can almost make getting a notice of violation a pleasant experience. He always takes the time to explain the violation. He offers suggestions and an opportunity to correct it. He's been a very effective goodwill ambassador for the town since the day he was hired. Mr. Gravier recognized John's many talents and abilities. He encouraged him to pursue advanced educational opportunities, and he loaded him up with supervising projects that would enable him to grow into the experienced manager he is today. I think the truth is Mr. Gravier gave him the things he didn't want to do, probably. But when you unselfishly encourage a person to grow and develop their potential, sometimes you also have to let them go onto bigger challenges, no matter how much they will be missed. And so it is with mixed feelings, but mostly a deep sense of pride and gratitude, that we say congratulations to our own John Apple, the new town administrator of the town of Atkinson, New Hampshire. And I was wondering, does anybody have anything they want to add? Oh, yes.
John, you've been terrific. You're very competent and very cheerful and wonderful to work with. And just one quick example, I had suggested a year or 2 ago, why don't we look into getting electric garbage trucks? And instead of laughing in my face or ignoring me, he actually looked into it. It turns out it's not reasonable to do yet. The equipment is not there yet. But you follow up on everything, and I really appreciate it. And you do a good job with the drone.
Faith, did you have something?
Thank you. Sorry. John, I just want to say, I hope your new town appreciates you as much as we do. And thank you so much for everything you've done for us, because it's been tremendous. And you have brought to the town, just so many good things. I wish you nothing but the best for you and your family, and hope you'll come back and visit.
Mr. Shepley?
Mayor, Mr. Apple, I just wrote down a few words to describe John Apple, and I'd just like to read them. Intelligent, knowledgeable, and those two things aren't always the same. You've got both. Approachable, receptive, thorough, and I like this one the best, professional. It's been a pleasure working with you. I don't want to wish you luck, because I don't think you need luck, but I wish the best to you and your family on the new chapter in your lives. Thank you.
John, I didn't have as much time to abuse you as everybody else did in here. I would like to say, from the time you took over code enforcement, it became obvious, like your character and your personality changed the mood and the tenor of the code enforcement department right away in a very positive way. So I certainly appreciate that. And since I didn't have as much time to abuse you, I did want to mention, and since you're leaving, that you look exactly like the 1990s and early 2000s cartoon character Johnny Bravo, and I just appreciate that too. So, good luck in New Hampshire, man. Congratulations.
John, you've been a wonderful person to work with. I don't want to repeat everything that everybody said, but yes, you are a very talented, knowledgeable, and also an easy person to work with, and you will be greatly missed, and the state of New Hampshire is going to be benefiting very much from a guy like you.
Okay. So, John, thank you very much, and we wish you and Jocelyn all the best. We send you off with our gratitude, our friendship, and our love.
As I had said before, thank you all very much. You are my family away from my family, as is the rest of the staff here in Bethany. I mean, you've talked about how I've grown, and I would not have been able to do that with all of you and the help of and wonderful staff that I work alongside. And it's made it very easy to do so, along with the guidance from Mr. Gravier. So for the residents listening, never a bad time in my life coming out there and greeting you all. It was a pleasure to serve. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for everything.
Thank you, John. I have a second announcement to make that tracks the first one. I think sometimes when one door closes, another one opens. And that's certainly not a cliche today for Bethany Beach. And while we're sorry to be losing John, we're fortunate to be able to welcome Terry Tiemann as our new Assistant Town Manager. Terry has had managerial experience in government, most recently in Fenwick Island, and before that in the city of Harrington, and also as senior administrator in the city of Dover. In those positions, Terry developed her many skills in project management, budget preparation, financial management, as well as human resources and supervision. Terry has an MBA from Wilmington University and has been a leader in international, national, and local governmental associations. Some of us have the privilege of knowing Terry personally and have worked with her over the past several years, either with the Delaware League of Local Governments, the Association of Coastal Towns, or the Sussex County Association of Towns. We have seen firsthand the talents, skills, and experiences that she will bring to Bethany Beach. And on a personal note, both Lou and I have worked with Terry on the Delaware League of Local Governments Legislative Advisory Committee, and Cliff and Lou and I have worked with her on the Association of Coastal Towns. And I think you'd all agree that Terry will be a very valuable addition to our town team. She'll be working with John for the next couple of weeks to ensure a smooth transition. And she also has a wonderful way of dealing with people too, like John. So please welcome Terry Tiemann to Bethany Beach. Okay, thank you. Okay. So on to the next item on the agenda. First, we have a report from the Planning and Zoning Commission. And Mr. Boswell's not here, but Mr. Edmondson will present the report.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll actually give you two updates because our Planning and Zoning met prior to this meeting, which is a little backwards. So we had a January meeting. At the January meeting, we've finished the review of the comprehensive plan, which we will be passing on to Town Council in the coming weeks for our review. There's a couple of housekeeping items that need to continue to happen with that, but we'll kind of parallel track it so that we can stay on schedule so that we can get that presented to the state by our, I think, August deadline. At that same meeting, we reviewed and approved a subdivision of a lot on Hudson, in between Hudson and 2nd Street, which has been, has come up a few times in the last 10 years or so and will not come up again because that subdivision was approved. They have to move the house onto one of the lots in order to comply. They have 120 days to accomplish that. And we reviewed and approved language regarding pervious and impervious areas on lots. As I think you all know, we've had a little bit of a hole in our zoning code that would technically allow you to pave 100% of your lot. That language should be coming to council for our review and for public comment here shortly. I think that's all great work that the council did. I'm saying we. I'm not on the commission anymore. That's all great work that the commission did, that they did. So this month we will be reviewing a partitioning request for 847 Garfield Parkway, another property that has come up quite a bit. This is the Onofre property. The Board of Adjustments has already reviewed and recommended approving subdividing the lot, so the Planning Commission will review that application. We will also be discussing adding to our impervious area language some notes about tree preservation, protecting trees, and adding trees on new construction on permits where a new house is being built or where a major renovation is happening, which would be 50%, which would be kind of up to the building department. But what that language would look like is essentially a requirement that owners who are building a new house would put 2 trees of 2 inches in diameter on their property. So. We're a Tree City USA. Actually, John Apple has been a huge part in helping us get that designation. I think this is in keeping with that and in keeping with a greener Bethany. And I think that is everything for February.
Well, thank you very much, Mr.
I
Edmondson.
have a question. We have a whole section on trees within the code.
We have a section on trees, on protecting trees on town property. We don't have, there's a whole in there about, if you look through it, it's actually pretty good language about how we need to treat trees. But what could happen right now is that if you bought a lot, an undeveloped lot in town that was completely treed, you could actually clear all of those trees without ever getting a building permit. So.
That's not true.
You sure?
No. No. Under that section, we have a section on minimized tree removal. We have a section on replacement of removal of trees required, tree inventory and replacement plan required, removal of trees prohibited without approval.
Is that under the actual, is that under the building code?
Yes, in section 5079, the removal of trees prohibited without approval.
We'll look to see if that, so I think that's great for the planning meeting in February. We'll look to make sure if there are holes in that.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
because I was going to talk about another part.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's pretty well covered in our code.
In Ms. Frederick's opinion and what we looked at, I don't know if she's aware of that or it looks like it applies to like, to only town property, at least in her eyes.
No,
So,
no,
yeah. Okay.
it doesn't just apply to town property. I mean, why would you have to get an approval if it's not on, if it's on town property?
I don't know, but if it just hasn't been enforced or hasn't been, because speaking, professionally, we've never submitted a tree preservation plan on any lot where we professionally submitted a plan for permit.
I mean, this says, all subdivisions and developments.
Oh, I'm
requiring-
sorry, that's what it is, Lou. That goes to planned residential developments and subdivisions. It does not apply to a single, at least in the
Oh,
current
no,
reading
it does
of
not apply to single
So
family.
what we're talking about, that's exactly what it is. What we're talking about is on a single lot. If you were going to build a new house or do a major renovation, you would have to provide and they're not large trees, they're 2 inches in diameter. You could go to Lowe's and pick up a tree and plant it. That's our current proposal. I'm not saying that's the language that will.
That
will
might be
pass.
difficult to do. I mean, on a single lot.
Well, it's in keeping with the required minimum open area, which will come before us for our review and for public comment also. But what we're trying to do is get to what you're seeing with larger houses is there's less and less unpaved, unoccupied area. And that's especially true because our parking requirements require you, like it's a sliding scale based on number of bedrooms and houses are getting larger and larger, and so it's coming around where what we don't want is some of the houses that are just fully paved or completely a rock garden. While that's good for infiltration, the rock garden part is not great for like the verdant feeling of town.
Gotcha.
So.
All right. I was a little confused at first.
We were too. So that's good.
Thank you, Mr. Edmondson. And just to compliment the Planning and Zoning Commission, you've been at this since November of 2020, so it's been quite a long time. Over a year they've devoted to redoing the comprehensive plan for us. We have a deadline of submission to the state by, I believe they gave us a 6-month deadline from February 17th to August 17th. So once we receive that, perhaps you and I and Mr. Kilmer could sit down and put together a schedule that would include both council consideration at workshops and also public input. That would be helpful.
That would be great, and it's important, I think, to note that Lou was present and responsible for 7/8 of all of that work before moving off of being the representative of the commission. So, as usual, I'm like a blister. I show up when the work is finished.
It just shows I've been here too long when this is my 3rd comprehensive plan, so.
You know, I listened to a number of the Planning and Zoning Commission meetings virtually and also in person, and there were an awful lot of good thoughts and ideas and discussions that went into the comprehensive plan. So it'll be interesting for us, and it'll be a good experience for us to sit down and take a look at it. Thank you. I see we have Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris, welcome. You have.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
We have 2 items on the agenda that we skipped over that are yours. First is the approval of the financial report. Would you like to do that now, sir?
Certainly, I can go the financial report, and then I'll do the approval of the tax adjustments. The operating budget, this report covers the budget through December 31st, 2021. We're 75% through fiscal year 2022. On the operating budget revenue, income from real estate taxes, rental tax, license and fees are on or above our budget estimates. As a result, we have collected 114% of the budgeted revenue compared to 88% this time last year. On the expense side, we've expended 74.1% of our budgeted amount compared to 68.6% at this time last year. Recognizing that this report is subject to audit, I respectfully move that the council accept and approve an unaudited report.
Thank you, Mr. Shepley seconded. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item is
The
the
tax
assessment.
adjustment. When new homes are built and revisions are made to existing homes, a new assessment is required. Council, you have before you a list of 21 homes that fit this category. I make a motion that we accept the assessment of these 21 homes as presented.
So moved. Oh, second.
Second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes
Aye.
have it. Thank you, Mr. Morris.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, there's no report from the Budget and Finance Committee meeting this month. That had to be canceled. Any report now from the town manager, Mr. Gravier?
Mayor, council, this is John's last meeting with us here in Bethany. John will begin to have weekly meetings in Atkinson. And John, I want to wish you luck with those weekly meetings, and
Yeah.
I can't even imagine why you would want to go somewhere where you had weekly meetings, John, but all the best to you. John, it's been my great, great good fortune to have hired you almost 8 years ago. First, to find out what an incredible employee you were, what an incredible supervisor you became, then a great manager, and now a very successful public administrator. You have surprised me, not really surprised me, but impressed me at every turn, and you will be sorely missed. I can tell you that Bethany's loss, a huge loss, is certainly Atkinson's gain, and you are always welcome back here. The door will always be open, and Bethany is going to miss you, John. It's been my pleasure to work with you. It's bittersweet, but good for you, and have great success with that. I expect you in no time at all to be the city manager in Boston or someplace like that, and on the cover of PM magazine, and best of luck to you. With that said, welcome aboard, Terry Tiemann. Terry is a seasoned, and that doesn't mean old, Terry, a seasoned, very successful public administrator, and it's a pleasure to welcome you aboard. You bring a lot to the table, and I look forward to working with you. You're welcome. To the report, just when we thought it was safe to go back in the water, we've had about 9 employees out with COVID, and we're hoping that is where we end here, but we know we've had a lot of exposure, 4 or 5 people in Public Works, 3 or 4 in the police department, and now 2 in the administrative staff. We are keeping the building open. We do ask that masks be worn in the building, and we're trying to do what we can and not go back to remote work. Remote work caused its own set of problems, and we're hoping to keep at what we're doing and hope this wave passes quickly and leaves the staff here, at least those who haven't had COVID yet, unscathed going into the future. The water department has had a very busy month here in the last few weeks, most especially because of Comcast and then the freeze and thaws that we've had. They've had about 32 different leaks and mains as a result of Comcast work, 20 different shutoffs and repairs because of freezes, and between Comcast and new construction, they've had 501 utility locates. And just think about that in terms of time consuming and really a drag on their other tasks, taking them away from the running of the water plant, which is not a really simple task. We've talked about Collins Avenue for a number of years. It was put on hold. We were marching towards getting Collins completed just as COVID began, and we put it off during that COVID year and a half. We've gone back to visit Collins, and in the meantime, we now have the opportunity, with DelDOT's approval, to be able to put a pedestrian flashing light on Kent Avenue at Wellington at the library. And also we've had discussions in a preliminary drawing to install a 5-foot walkway in the 300 block of Wellington to complete a pedestrian walkway from the Bethany West area to the east portion of town. As time has gone on, Collins has now fallen to the point in time in our schedule to require a repaving. The repaving would be inexpensive in itself, but if we combine the repaving with the pathway, we have the opportunity, and again at an increased expense, but we have the opportunity to increase the width of the pathway from 5 feet to 8 feet, which would make it a much more workable and safer pathway on Collins. So we're charging our engineer to take a look at that, since he has all the work done on all the drawings completed for Collins and all the surrounding work. We've asked him to give us that drawing. We're going to take a look at it and bring it back to the council for their review. And if it's something that the council is interested in proceeding with, we will schedule a public meeting. We'll have discussion again, as we did here a couple of years ago, with affected property owners and review increasing the width of the Collins pathway from 5 to 8 feet. Central Park has created some of the neighbors of the project had offered that it had created some ponding problems at the northern end of the property behind the homes on Gibson, and also caused some runoff onto Central and down Gibson. We have just completed a $185,000 project that has essentially corrected both of those problems. We've had substantial rain since the project has been completed, and Central is dry. There is no runoff, no rain runoff from Central onto Gibson and from the park onto Gibson either. So a successful project that is completed. And wouldn't end this without saying kudos again to Julie Molesky for a very successful holiday season, holiday events. Great job again on her part. For much of that, she's a one-person band, but she gets it done. And along with that, remind everybody that this coming week is the Chamber's Fire and Ice event. We're going to have Elvis on the boardwalk at 7 o'clock, and after that, we should have a fairly decent, a pretty nice fireworks show at about 7:30 or 7:45. And Mayor, that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Gravier. It was a very successful holiday season, so thanks to Julie. Anybody else have anything to add? Mr. Morris, anything? Okay, I guess not. I guess we're on to,
Move on, yes, on to new business. The first item on the new business is discussion, consideration, and possible vote on supporting the Center for Inland Bay's position on the creation of buffer zones in Sussex County.
thank you, Mr. Kilmer. Thank you. At its meeting on January 11th, the Sussex County Council considered proposed amendments to sections of chapters 99 and 115 of the county code, and regarding certain drainage features, wetlands, and water resources and buffers. And I'm going to bore you with a little background for those of you who are not familiar with the progression of this issue, and also those at home who might be listening. A couple of years ago, and I'd like to give credit here to Councilmember I.G. Burton. It was at his urging that the Sussex County Council established the Wetlands and Buffers Working Group, and to review the current regulations that are now in effect related to buffers and respective resources in Sussex County. The county hired technical experts to facilitate these efforts and to guide the working group to an end goal. The working group's membership was comprised of a wide range of interested groups, including developers, engineers, and environmentalists. And this group was able, over the course of a couple of years, with the help of the consultants, to reach a consensus on a number of issues, which, if adopted, would help to better protect waterways from the impacts of new development. However, the proposed ordinance, which was presented to the County Council by the Planning and Zoning Commission, contained a new section which has created concern. And there were three specific areas which create the most concern, and this is just a very brief description. I won't go into any detail. First, that the forested area can be clear-cut prior to the submission of an application for development. Second, that buffers can be reduced from 50 to 25 feet under certain circumstances, which creates loopholes in the buffer ordinance. And third, there's no strong enforcement mechanism spelled out in the proposed ordinance. These and other issues were clearly spelled out by Chris Basin, the Executive Director for the Center for the Inland Bays, in the materials that you have received. This council has recognized that these issues are extremely important to all of us, and over the years we have worked closely with Mr. Basin and the center on a number of environmental issues. Mr. Basin's call for support at the January 11th County Council meeting was received without sufficient time to schedule a meeting of this council. However, knowing this council's concern regarding such environmental issues, on January 10th, I submitted a letter to the Sussex County Council on behalf of the Bethany Beach Town Council, supporting the position of the Center for the Inland Bays. I copied all of you on the correspondence. In addition, I sent a copy to Mr. Basin, and Mr. Basin responded that he was very grateful for our support. He added, too, that he was especially grateful that towns take this sort of action because it's so important to them. So he wanted to thank us for doing that. I also heard back from one member of the county council who also thanked us for the comments. The county council heard revised ordinance at its January 11th meeting, and they suspended the public hearing to continue until February 22nd. I would note for the record that the BBLA also supports the position of the Center for the Inland Bays, and they have submitted a letter to the town council urging support. I understand they will also be sending a similar letter to the county council, and we certainly appreciate their position on this matter, and they're also sending the letter to the county council. With that, I move that council formally approve our support for the Center for the Inland Bays position on this issue.
Second. Anybody have any questions or comments regarding what the mayor has proposed? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
I just wanted to, just as a point of record, the town of Bethany Beach is pretty well covered on the, on this issue about,
Yes.
in our code regarding removal of trees prohibited without approval. We have another section on minimized tree removal, replacement of removed trees required, tree inventory and replacement plans are required. So all kind of, plan developments like are covered under our code that would prohibit somebody from just clearing a section of land to put a planned development in there. But, so we're pretty well covered that way. Not so much on individual lots, but we've been very, and that's going back to 2009, and it's been updated a couple times. But I think the town has always been proactive in the whole area about protecting what we have.
Right. And on all different environmental issues, and have worked with the Center for the Inland Bays over the year.
Yeah.
So that's why I felt comfortable just going ahead and submitting the letter too, because I knew that this council, for many years, many councils before us too, have all worked with the Center for the Inland Bays and also been very sensitive towards environmental issues.
Yeah, especially being a coastal
Yeah.
community ourselves with inland waterways.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Want to take a vote?
Oh, yeah, I did. We talk about it, didn't we? Yeah. Talk about it.
Oh, took vote? Okay.
The second item on the, under new business, discussion, consideration, and possible vote on a request to the Delaware Department of Transportation for a year-round speed reduction from 35 miles an hour to 30 miles an hour on the Delaware Route 1 from the northern town limits of Bethany Beach to the southern town limits of South Bethany.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Kilmer. Back in October, the council voted to ask DelDOT, passed a resolution to ask DelDOT if they would lower the speed limit on Route 1, Delaware Route 1, from 35 miles an hour to 30 miles an hour during the season. And we defined the season as May 15th through October 15th because we're getting an increasingly busy shoulder season. And with that, we also asked Middlesex, Sussex, Sea Colony, and South Bethany to join with us in our petition to DelDOT. The reason being that there wouldn't be so many changes in the speed limit within a short period of a short mileage limit. Sea Colony and Middlesex agreed, and they quickly sent in their agreement. They let us know they were in agreement. South Bethany held a couple of town council meetings, and they finally decided that what they would support, they couldn't support the seasonal lowering of the speed limit because they felt it would be confusing to people and it might result in more problems than it was worth. So they had voted to accept the proposal provided it was year-round. Mr. Gravier subsequently sent a letter to both Middlesex and Sea Colony and asked them, explained to them what South Bethany had decided and asked them if they would be in agreement with it. And Middlesex wrote back and said that they would. Sea Colony, although they preferred having it seasonal, said they would support year-round because they felt that it was important that we all stand together on these issues. So we thank them for that. So accordingly, I move that council approve a request to DelDOT to reduce the speed limit on Delaware Route 1 to 30 miles an hour year-round, and you have a draft of the letter to DelDOT in front of you as well that explains all the reasons that we went through in October for the reasons we want to do that. So I move that we approve the request to DelDOT to lower the speed limit year-round on Delaware Route 1.
Do we have a second?
Third.
Any discussion before we vote?
And to be very clear, this reduction request is from the northern limit of Bethany Beach to the southernmost limit of South Bethany. When this was last published or publicized, it was misrepresented that it was the entire span from the inlet to Fenwick Island, and that's not the case.
Thank you, Mr. Grevier.
I have a question. So are these signs going to be changed?
We need DelDOT approval before we consider,
No, but assuming it gets approved.
yes.
So then in the off-season,
This is a request for year-round,
for year-round, at 30 miles an hour?
yes.
Yeah.
All right. Because at first I thought, I was a little confused about whether it was going to be seasonal and non-seasonal, but it's all seasonal. All right. 30 miles an hour.
It's all year-round.
Year-round.
For year-round, yeah, because I was wondering how that would work. You know, All right, so did we vote on this?
No.
No. So any further questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Kilmer. Is there anything else anyone wishes to say before we have a motion to adjourn? Or was there any comment from the public?
Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Morris?
can you, before you close the meeting, I have something to say about the Budget Committee.
Oh, okay.
The Budget and Finance Committee was scheduled to meet yesterday, but because of COVID, we canceled the meeting. However, I wanted to emphasize the fact that the committee has been considering and will recommend a 25% increase in sanitary fees. Our goal is to adjust sanitation fees every 3 to 5 years, and these fees were last increased 5 years ago. The sanitation department has seen a significant increase in cost for personnel and replacement of trash trucks in recent years, making the fee necessary to increase. For residential properties, the fee is currently $330 a year. A 25% increase would make the fee $410, an additional $80 per year. This is compatible or less than any other trash service in our area. The committee will meet again on Thursday, February 17th, to discuss this fee and propose the budget for the fiscal year 2023, which will begin on April 1st. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morris, and I apologize for the oversight. Anything else? Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn? So moved. Second? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Aye.
All right, and thank you very much. That's the end of our meeting, and thank you for anyone who attended virtually.
And thanks, John, for bringing me on board.
You didn't want to.